Welcome back to Nightcap Chat, the pop culture, comics, and gaming podcast. Today we talk about toy collecting, and we analyze the Spider-Man Far From Home trailer. I'm Blade O'Neill.
And I'm Ken Brown.
And Ken, you're the owner of Drana Comics, so, I'm sure you collect toys to some extent.
Oh, yes, absolutely. I still, to this day, anything black costume Spider-Man.
Yeah.
It pulls me in. I had to narrow myself a little bit, so there's pretty much three things that always grab my attention. Number one's the black suit Spider-Man, symbiote Spider-Man, to be more specific. And also Voltron toys always find a way to bring me in. For Christmas this year, my wife got me the Voltron Lego set.
Oh, nice.
And so on Christmas Day, we are building the Lego Voltron set. Actually, it was the little bit, the between Christmas Day and New Year's.
Okay.
So
yes.
During that week, there was a couple days we had off as a family, and we built the Lego Voltron. And oh my gosh, dude, that thing's freaking amazing.
So then let me ask you, did you used to build Legos as a kid or not so much?
Oh, a little bit. I didn't have quite the Lego engineering skills of today's society.
Absolutely.
But it's amazing what people do with Legos. We were at Arizona Mills yesterday, and there was like full desert landscapes of like cactuses that if you're walking towards it at Arizona Mills, you're going, what is this? Like, oh my gosh, this is all freaking Legos.
Oh, neat.
And it's awesome to see like how Legos have become such a major part of society.
Absolutely. And the reason why I asked is because like I had some Legos as a kid, but like, my parents definitely didn't get me, set after set because, irresponsible kid, you mix everything up. But like as an adult, like especially with like some of the newer sets that are coming out for Star Wars and Marvel and even Overwatch now, like they're so much fun though. Like it's completely like zen to build and follow the instructions. My wife and I, we keep building like the new Star Wars sets and they're incredibly fun.
It's awesome too to see like how detailed they've gotten them now.
Oh, and we just got interrupted here. Speaking of toys, I got a package of toys from Sidekick Collectibles. I don't even remember what this is.
Nice. Dude, that's one of my favorite things too, is like when you order stuff off the internet and whether it's internet auction like eBay or Amazon or just surfing around, when you get that package in the mail, it feels like Christmas.
Always.
Every single time. That's what I love about toys. I think in today's culture, we get Christmas almost any day we want to.
Absolutely.
It's kind of crazy to think about it that way, but I love it. The third thing that I still collect to this day, I can't get enough of, is as a kid, I remember speaking of Christmas, I remember getting a Hot Wheels playset that was the gas station. Do you remember that at all?
Oh, I don't think I had it, but I think my uncle had it and he left it in the basement. Nice. So I played with it. I know exactly what you're talking about. It was
a fold up. It had the little peg legs you could put out to stand up 2 levels. You started with the car at the top of it. You could roll all the way down.
That's right. And I totally played with that.
Yes, dude. It was my favorite toys from like getting, I think it was my 4th or 5th Christmas. I remember getting it. And it was maybe 6. That's somewhere between 4 and 6 years old because I remember the car that came with it was a 1977 or 78 Pontiac Trans Am, like Smoking the Bandits.
Oh, I don't know if that might have been lost, but I used to love Hot Wheels when I was a kid, and it was so much fun having something to, I don't know, like a track. But yeah.
And the car was nicknamed the Hot Bird. And I think because, Hot Wheels always did special fun names for the cars. And so it was like a Hot Wheels Firebird, more or less, as they're mixing the 2 names. To this day, I still cannot get enough Hot Wheels 1977, 1978 Trans Ams.
Okay.
And so those are the top 3, I would say, of toys that I still collect to this day. How about you?
I think obviously we just took that selfie in front of, we have nearly almost 500 Funko Pops in the next room. But as far as, more action figures go, the Star Wars Black Series line is incredible. And I have a hard time not calling it the Marvel Black Series line, but the Marvel Legends line, which I feel is like the same exact kind of idea with the 6-inch figures. We try to keep our action figures in that and stay away from like the 3 3/4 inch, like, especially like the Force Link ones. Like they seem like they're geared toward children, but like the Black Series, the sculpts are great. The packaging is clean and they're even nice to display. Even then we try to keep it to characters, we really, really like, and buy every single one.
Don't those kind of feel like those are the toys that grew up but also grew up with us.
Exactly.
Like
100%.
that. They were 3 3/4 inch. We loved them as a kid.
Yep.
And now the 6 inch,
Mm-hmm.
you could say the sizes grew up and it grew up with us for us to enjoy.
And the prices grew up too.
Yes, I know. That's another thing too. Yeah, the 6 inch Marvel Legends. Remember when those first came out from Toy Biz? They're like $8.99 a piece.
Were they?
Yes, they were that low, which blows me away. And now they're like $21.99 and $24.99
in like the plastic blister packs.
Yeah, the clamshell.
Those were $8.99.
Yeah, I remember when they first came out at Toys R Us, get them for $8.99. And I'm kind of going, wow. Then all of a sudden they kept on blowing up in price. And I remember for the longest time they were $14.99.
Yeah.
Even like when Hasbro took them over when they first came out, they were $14.99.
I feel like $20 is still steep.
Yes, it is kind of because I think we were conditioned by the 3 3/4 inch ones.
Yeah.
I mean, even as kids, like that, the Star Wars and G.I. Joe figures were like $288, $299. And then like that, as we got older, I mean, now the 3 3/4 inch figures go anywhere from $9.99 to about $12.99.
Okay.
Where you see them at.
Yeah. Well, like one of the, when I was a kid, I had a lot of Marvel. I had some DC. But I remember like some of the accessories were kind of weird. Like why did they give Superman like all of these like snap-on pieces? Like he needed a space version of his suit. He's an Italian who can go into space. Like some of the accessories were ridiculous. And
like the 5 inch DC Mattel stuff.
I think so, because there was also an Aquaman with the long hair and beard, and he had a hook hand. But then he had like some kind of armor that snapped on for whatever reason.
Yes.
Like he didn't need it. Yeah.
They tried to almost turn like Barbies. It's like, let's go grocery shopping Batman.
Yes.
Or just random things like, okay, here is valet parking Batman. Just little things that is like just random stuff that throw out there. Let's go Batman scuba diving Batman. And,
and Marvel did it too, especially with like the 90s like Spider-Man stuff.
Yes,
like there was all kinds of crazy Spider-Mans that had nothing to do with anything.
Remember the talking Venom where they put the little voice boxes? They had the talking Cyclops. You can plug it in the back of the either it's a backpack or put it in the back where the screw hole is to hold the piece together, and you press a little button. It's I am Venom.
I vaguely remember that. Vaguely.
And they also had like the Venom squirting goo, like where you can put that on his chest, and more else it's like a water squirter, and you push on it, and the little goo comes out of him.
Okay, gosh, barely. I remember. I don't know if it was me or my brother. We had a Peter Parker.
Yes.
And it was based on the 90s show. But like there was a little thing you could hit, and it flipped his head and it switched to like him with a Spider-Man mask.
See, those are awesome.
And it reminded me of the old Power Rangers figures from the 90s that had the little flip heads, because you could flip the head and it would show the face.
You could have them change costume right in front of you.
Yeah. I mean, it was 90s toy technology at its best. So like Hasbro. Well, I know Bandai released these, but Hasbro brought the Power Rangers, and like they're doing really smart things with the Power Ranger line right now, and they're playing to those of us who grew up with
Power Rangers.
Yeah, exactly.
It's interesting how Hasbro has evolved so much into being more or less the best toy maker, I think, in the marketplace right now.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people say like the more advanced, toys for adults, like, sideshow collectibles and stuff like that. But when it comes to mass market toy production, I don't think there's a better company out there than Hasbro right now.
But here's the thing with some, like, I love Sideshow. I might have like one or two. But I mean, like, how many Sideshow pieces can you buy? You
can't. It's just like they're too expensive. You
exactly. But when you can buy like $20 a figure for the characters you really love, like that's a lot more manageable. Especially with the way the sculpts are going, like, and the way like
mini statues.
Exactly. And I think 3D technology probably attributed to some of that. And I think McFarlane might have actually innovated that, because I remember watching a panel with him, and he was talking about actually scanning in, baseball players to get their stances right for their sports figures and things like that. And I think that maybe, I might be misquoting this, but maybe military guys to like do certain poses for like Halos. That's what that was for. Okay.
Yes. Yeah, McFarlane had a military line, I want to say in the early 2000s, about 2003 to 2006.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was that early, but I remember like that it was.
That's about when I was watching the panel.
Yeah, I bet you was probably to kind of tie in with more or less what was going on with the Middle East at that time.
Okay.
Like that. It's like that, hey, military was very, very strongly supported as toys. That's like they were like, once again, like heroes.
Yeah.
Like, all people in the military are heroes, I guess you could say. They're real life heroes. But McFarlane started doing like, the Marines, the special ops, the SEALs, do you know what I mean? But they were they were not characterized. They were more or less,
like
this
G.I.
is
Joe.
what a soldier looks like as a toy. And that did really well for a few years. And all of a sudden, I think that sports just, was his major market. And he kept on doing like, okay, once things started going through phases, like, or the contracts went up, he didn't renew. Like there was even, McFarlane Simpson figures. Remember that?
Yeah, there was, he scored quite a few different licenses. Like
Hanna-Barbera for
and
a while.
Halo.
Halo. And it's just McFarlane does kind of like kind of what IDW does with comics. Do you know what they keep on getting toy licenses to do comics about? And McFarlane was going that stage for a while where he was getting tons of licenses to do stuff. Now he's doing video game licenses.
Yep.
Like Fortnite toys are out from him, which is an amazing part of pop culture in today's world. We're talking about like toys that are out today that people tomorrow will be remembering from their childhood. Man, Fortnite's taking the world by storm right now. For
it was
kids and adults.
It was definitely the fastest growing game for a while, and I think it had I don't know if it made the most money or had the biggest play, amount of active players at once. I mean, it's since last December it got cut in half, but it's still very prevalent. I think we touched on that in one of the previous episodes. But yeah, I mean, the only thing that surprises me with Fortnite is a lot of it, and I've touched on this before, is parody. Yes. And like, I don't know if it's because no one else is doing it, because like, you've got the John Wick character, you've got the ones that emulate characters from Overwatch, but then they went ahead and were actually able to make a deal with Marvel, and they did that Marvel event that tied in with Endgame, which is why. Yeah. Oh, you didn't know about that?
No, that's awesome.
So there was a game mode that they introduced. It kind of stems from their Infinity War deal, but somebody becomes Thanos. Nice. And everyone else on that team becomes the Chitauri, like once you get like one of the Infinity Stones or something, and all the drops, instead of like guns and crossbows, they're like Captain America's shield, Iron Man's, repulsor ray, Hawkeye's arrows. So you effectively have like an Avengers versus Thanos and the Chitauri army. It's like you have to kill Thanos.
That is epic.
So that's why we had the Fortnite thing in Endgame, with Noob Master 69, I
was wondering about that. I'm going, that's kind of cool. Like that going, it felt like it was like a Ready Player One moment. I thought of it as, but that makes more sense. It was like a Fortnite moment happening there on Endgame.
Exactly. But really those toys were almost late because they kind of came back after like the biggest part of the hype. Funko was actually the first person to get a toy license from Fortnite and put out something. Nice. So the Funko Fortnite were the first toys of Fortnite to hit the market.
Well, Funko has like the foresight, I think, on everything when it comes to, hey, let's get this out as a toy and we'll be the trendsetters, and then other people will start following because they've seen it sell well. I mean, like Funko's not afraid to take chances at all.
What is it about Funko because when I first saw like these pops coming out and I was like what, like some people were collecting them and I didn't get it. I was like, these look stupid, quite honestly. But if you look back on some of the older ones, like the models have even improved, over time, progressively. But for me, it all started with, they made a Deadpool one. And so like Deadpool is one of those things that like I would always buy the action figure or the statue, like up until a certain point, until it got really popular. And now it's, like collecting Spider-Man, which I'm sure you relate to.
Yes.
But like there was a Deadpool one. So I got the Deadpool one. But then like, oh, look, now there's a Phoenix one. So my wife collects so it started with just like those core obsessions, like, oh, you know what? I kind of like Daryl from The Walking Dead. Like, oh, I kind of like this guy. And then now there's 500 in the next room.
Yeah, they reach out to knowing what people like. I remember that, and they don't just stick to one company or one, how would you say it? One franchise, better way to put it. I remember when they had a similar type of effect from Marvel Mighty Mugs. Remember Marvel Mighty Mugs?
Yes.
Remember there was a huge fan base for that before Funko started.
I also thought those were stupid.
Yes, and I never got into them, but then people would come into my store at Geronda Comics and they would sell really well.
Yeah.
But they were just limited to Hasbro and Marvel's contract. And when Funko came along, they're kind of going like that. Well, shoot, dude, that's great that Hasbro's got this deal with Marvel, but us as Funko, we don't have to be limited to just one company's deal.
Yep.
And they went as many different ways as possible. I mean, there's cereal box Funkos, there's movie Funkos, there's comic Funkos, there's toy Funkos, there's TV shows, there's Golden Girls Funkos.
There's branding, you know, which is just characters from that are like mascots, you know, like Count Chocula, and like those are actually some of the most popular ones because the first Funko, I believe, was Bob's Big Boy.
Yes, and it's so uniquely different that there's, like, for instance, the toy action figure market.
Yeah.
You know, DC's being done by Mattel. Marvel's being done by Hasbro.
Yep.
So you won't see Hasbro doing Marvel and DC toys.
Okay.
Like McFarlane's started to do a separate contract recently where he's doing DC action figures for the first time coming up next year. And they got to be, for whatever reason, I guess, I don't know how they got that. Maybe the Mattel contract's up with DC. Who knows how that's going on that? Or it's so drastically different that they can't be compared in the same market. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or they're just going to be distributed exclusively through DC Direct, which is, you know, comic, or DC Collectibles, which is comic shop or specialty store exclusives.
Maybe that's what one of like the biggest appeals about Funko, you know, are, because you have this certain standard.
Yes.
But like if you collect Marvel and DC and Power Rangers and Overwatch, you have the opportunity to have something cohesive between Marvel and DC and the video games you like and whatever,
like
cartoons and shows. Yeah, exactly.
Same type of thing.
So it's not like, oh, you know, I have these 6-inch action figures, but I also have this 5-inch, you know, action figure to display next to. Like you can display them all together and it's cohesive. Like
it's universal.
Going to Star Wars, you know, even like most of their collections, Marvel and Star Wars, but there's a few DC in there too, you know, especially like when they're super cool.
Yes.
You know, like Wonder Woman is, you know, that's definitely, you know, a guilty pleasure. You know, Wonder Woman's pretty cool.
And Funko's beginning to expand into other formats too. I mean, they're doing action figure formats now, like the 3 3/4 inch that are kind of like Star Wars figures, but they're doing them in Masters of the Universe characters.
So how do you? Oh yes, okay.
You know
So
I mean?
those
Like
ones, yes. How do
like
you feel
Funko.
about that? Because I mean, it was like the technology wasn't quite as there when they were doing those Masters of the Universe figures, and they're a little wonky looking. But now we're releasing them as a modern figure, and even DC is kind of doing that primal age. I don't know. It's kind of weird, I think. I mean, what do you think?
For that same thing too, as you said too, is like the universal thing of lining them all up. Now you can more or less do your He-Man figures that you may have and line them up with your Primal Rage and with your horror figures.
Yeah.
That's why everybody got so excited when Marvel started doing 3 3/4 inch figures, because now you could have your Star Wars and your G.I. Joe and your Marvel Universe figures in a huge diorama battle.
Interesting.
That will never happen in TV or movies or cartoons, but you can make them happen because of the figures are being at the same scale.
That's fair.
And so I think that's a fun way of us being like grown up in such a great impact of toys being impacts on our lives, that all the people that grew up with us now are inventing toys.
Yeah.
And remember the things that they wish they could do as kids. And they said, hey, if I still think about this today, then someone else is thinking about this today with us.
Absolutely.
And so if we put out on the market, at least we're going to test and see how it goes. If it does well, gold. If it doesn't, at least we tried it. And that's what I think is amazing about today's society of toys, is people aren't afraid to try anything with toys anymore, which is pretty cool.
It's an incredible place to be in. For the Marvel Legends line, they've even released these replicas, you know, like the Infinity Gauntlet, Captain America's shield, Iron Man's helmet. And they're relatively affordable for as far as those high end, you know, replicas go. Cause I mean, you get the same thing from like probably like Hot Toys or whatever. Like the Infinity Gauntlet's like what, like $300 to $500, but you have this one you can actually, you know, for a lack of a better term, play with, you know,
it's
and it
all
glows.
like $80-90.
Yeah, exactly. And so, and it looks really cool, like with, you know, as a centerpiece, you know, as your collection. And I think it was Bandai who started it, but like Hasbro took it over for the Power Ranger stuff. You know, like I never got
helmet over there.
Yeah, I never got a lot of the Green Ranger stuff as a kid because it all sold out. And now, as sort of this adulthood rebellion or guilty pleasure, like I'm able to get some of this Green Ranger stuff that I was never able to have as a kid. And it's high quality stuff, and it's for adults. And I mean, you could even cosplay, you know, with it if you wanted to. And sorry, I grabbed this action figure. I have this Green Ranger one. It was from the Super Mega Force line. It's not quite it looks like it's 6 inches, but the proportions, it is Bandai. But now that Hasbro has taken over the license, they have released a 6-inch figure line that's in really nice boxes that argue are comparative to like the Black Series.
Nice.
But like it's another cohesive thing. Like they're really nice sculpt 6-inch figures, and they're incredible. I have to grab some of them.
You could do your Jedis versus Power Rangers now.
Yeah, exactly.
And it looks authentic. And those are things like that. I said too, we're so, I don't want to say blessed, but so privileged to be part of a society now where we can create anything that comes to our mind.
Yep.
And it's just awesome to see what's like, where's it going to go? Do you know what I mean? It's like that. I can't wait. I'm a big Voltron fan, as I said.
Yep.
I mean, the Voltron, oh gosh, dude, Maddie Collector did a Voltron subscription club thing. And I think it was
like loot box or something?
Kind of, yeah. It was like the Maddie Collector, and you could subscribe to the different Voltron lines that came with the pilot.
Oh.
But they never made it to mass market. Oh. And so that's something like that where they were charged, I want to say like $59.99 for each line. And now the aftermarket on it, because it wasn't mass distributed, they go for about $200 to $300 a piece. But if they did release that again, that would be something that I think would go over really well. And they did do the Voltron, the Netflix show Voltron.
Yes.
And they did release a Voltron Classic with those lines when that toy line came out.
Yeah, I do remember that.
And it sold out really quickly again. And so I said too, is like, I'm surprised that some of the bigger companies like Hasbro, who does see something prove itself over and over again, doesn't buy into that too and get into that market.
I think they're just starting to realize it, because it was Bandai who started with like specifically these Green Ranger, you know, that helmet and the Dragon Dagger. The Dragon Dagger sold out. Yes. And they were going for, like you said, like it was like $100 item, and it's going for like $200 to maybe $300 for a while. But after Hasbro got that license, they saw the success of the items like this. These were re-released by Hasbro. That's why I was able to actually obtain the Dragon Dagger.
Nice.
So I think they're kind of starting to catch on. So we'll see if like something like that Voltron actually doesn't get like a re-release, because if there's a demand, why are you letting the secondary market? Exactly. Yes. You're allowing the secondary market to happen when you could be getting in on that cut. People would rather pay $100 than double for it on eBay. Like, go for it.
Exactly. And I said too, those will keep on coming as long as they see that the audience is there. And I do think there's toy companies watching the market on the secondary market.
They also just released the Captain America shield, the Marvel Legends one.
And those are things like, if they're seeing people pay stupid amounts on them online, they go, hey, as you said too, we have the rights to produce this. Let's put more out there.
Exactly. And you know, technology probably, you know, you have to thank for that, because Hasbro can go on to eBay and see how active the secondary market is for things like, whoa, you know, there's listings every day going for twice as much. Imagine if we just redid another run of these at retail. I mean, like,
to put new package on it, and it's a re-release. Yeah. And that keeps the collectors that saw the earlier packaging on it. Yeah. And they're even, like I said too, the people that are research and marketing research in the toy companies too, they understand what's going on in the collector's marketplace. Yeah. You know, it's like, it's fun to see like that. Okay, we did well with this, but if we re-release this, it needs to be new. But at the same time, if we re-release it in new packaging, the people that already bought are going to buy it again. Yeah. Because they're completists. And so they know how we think as toy collectors in a way too. It's like, just because I saw the black suit Spider-Man already come out, if I see it again, I'm still going to want it because I like the new packaging they put on. Exactly.
And so as collectors, I mean, I think it's just a really interesting point you bring up about being a completist. Like, I think, because there is such a saturation of things, for yourself, like, you have to figure out, what am I going to be a completist on? Yes. And like, you got to kind of like almost manage, you know, your things. So
that's
like,
why I stick to just 3 things.
Exactly. So like, I was trying to completist Deadpool, but like, man,
it's got way out of control.
It is. And I was so close. Yes. Like, up until 2008, like, I had almost every action figure. Yeah, I was so close, you know, and now, like I said, like, it's as popular as like Spider-Man. There's just so much. I had almost every Deadpool t-shirt, because there was no Deadpool t-shirts for a long time. And I remember that. But like, you know, I like Star Wars. I collect Star Wars. I can't get every Star Wars thing. So, you know, I'll completist like Thrawn stuff and Dr. Aphra. Yes. You know, like, things like that would be fun, but like, I'll try for Count Dooku, because that could be obtainable and affordable, and then Qui-Gon Jinn as well. But are you ever going to get every Luke thing ever?
There's no way.
Yeah,
that's the
probably
thing too.
not.
Even like in the symbiote Spider-Man stuff, as much as I like it, I know there's things I don't have in my collection.
Mm-hmm.
And is it something worth spending? Like for instance, Sideshow Collectibles. I know they probably got a symbiote Spider-Man statue.
Oh yeah.
I'm not going to spend $1,200, unfortunately, for a symbiote Spider-Man statue. Does that make me any less of a fan?
No,
and
absolutely
those
not.
are kind of the interesting things too. Is like
Mm-hmm.
where are your lines that you draw for the fact of I guess it all has to do with budget. Do you know what I mean? If you if you're like I guess a doctor that invents the cure to cancer, you'll buy whatever the heck you want.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean, dude? Like where money's no issue. But if it's something where, you are on a budget, whether it's just the fact of, you have one in your collection. It's the fun thing about collecting is that it's available there if you want it.
Yeah. And it's okay to have like those centerpieces too. Like everyone has like their gems, I
got my Bowen black suit Spider-Man statue.
Oh yeah, fun.
Yeah, and I remember when that first came out, I was super excited. It's like $125 at that time back in like I think the year 2001.
Okay.
And I was going, oh man, that's a lot for a statue, but dude, that's black suit Spider-Man. And it looks like Charles Vess's art. It looks freaking awesome. And just standing there in its perfection, you had to put out the money for it.
Well, now they're doing those gallery figures, which are super affordable for statues, and their sculpts are actually pretty good.
Yes, the gallery figures being like a $45 price point, I think is genius.
You were able to pick up one of the black suit Spider-Mans?
Yes, absolutely. It was kind of hard because I said too, like we sold the majority of them on Free Comic Book Day.
Oh, wow.
Because it was a Free Comic Book Day
I noticed that. I saw people just walking out with them.
And it was kind of like my employees picked up the last one. And I said, that's awesome, dude. It's like that there's no more left. He could tell. It's a little bit like, oh, man, I missed out. But that's what I wanted is you said if they sell out, that's what I want. That's great because that's what I ordered for. And if there is any left over, one's going home with me because it's the black suit Spider-Man.
Absolutely.
And my employee decided to bring it back and return it so I could have one to bring home and take, buy one myself. And I'm kind of going, dude, you don't have to do that, man. It's like that. If you enjoy it, because but you're the black suit Spider-Man collector, just like he's a big Frank Cho fan.
Okay.
Just like, I would do it, you would do for me if it was something Frank Cho.
Oh.
And I go, absolutely, dude. But it's like, if you enjoy it, dude, I don't want you to ever feel like you have to do that for. That's what collecting's about. It's like you help out, collectors collect.
I had an experience like that once. I remember it was a Funko release day. I don't remember for which shared convention it was, but I was running around trying to get all the exclusives, and I didn't realize my wife wanted the R2-D2 and Princess Leia 2-pack, and I had just walked away from one, and I went back and they were all gone. So I went to another GameStop. Luckily, it was only a couple miles away.
Nice.
And I had asked about it. I'm like, oh, I'll be right with you. Like, yeah, I'm just looking for this. And like, oh, he's got the last one. And that person let me have it. It's like, oh, I don't really care about this, but like, if it's something you care about, like, I want you to have it. And that's like $100 set now.
That's awesome. That's what I said too, is the community of collectors believe in good karma.
Yeah.
And in most cases, as I said too, I can't speak for everybody, but a lot of times the community of collectors do look out for the other collectors because they say they know what it's like being in those shoes. It's like you want something and you miss it.
Yep.
It's like, man, am I ever going to get a chance to see that again? And especially if you know someone that has that big glow in their eyes, it's like, oh my gosh, there it is. I remember so many times like at Toys R Us before I opened the store, like seeing kids like stare at my cart if I had something. Said, hey, do you really like this? It's like, yeah, dude, I'm a huge fan of that.
Toys R Us. Yeah, I'm gonna miss that experience.
Dude, it's insane. They've helped form the culture.
Absolutely.
Of what we're seeing today. KB Toys, Toys R Us, Lionel Playworld, even FAO Schwartz. They started the toy collecting.
All those Power Rangers things were Toys R Us exclusives. So like I went there exclusively, to get those, and like that's where I would go when I was a kid to get Power Ranger stuff.
Yes.
So the fact that they were Toys R Us exclusives and like hunting for them, like it was so much fun. So I mean, it's a shame. I understand, but that's just the way things are right now. But
hopefully, I keep on hearing rumors people want to bring them back. I don't know if it's going to be back this Christmas or not, but
I mean, is that the right thing to do? I mean, they went out of business for a reason. Yeah,
that's true. It's like that. If it's going to be like a smaller scale, they're talking about like KB Toys size, but even KB Toys didn't survive at the small scale that they were at too. But it's interesting that I think it's more or less the nature of the internet marketplace.
Absolutely.
And it's hard because parents like that, if they can get something off the internet, they will say, okay, I'll just have it delivered to my door. And kids
Amazon
never
makes
get out
it,
the toy shops
Amazon makes it hard because like we want it fast, we want it now, we want it cheap. And that's what Amazon does. Like you get it for market value. And most of the time you can have it, you can have it same day, maybe next day, no more than 2 days.
Hours. Yeah.
unbelievable. I will say though, I had a really hard time finding the Overwatch Hasbro 2-pack of Far and Mercy, because the Target by me, the entire shipment, they were crushed. The boxes were just crushed.
Oh no, yes.
And then I went to another Target. The boxes were crushed. I didn't understand what was going on. And then I went to another Target. The little what do you call these things?
The hooks.
The hooks all fell off of them.
Yes.
It's like, I don't understand what happened with the shipment. So I went onto Amazon, and they were above retail. They were selling for $50 instead of $4. And I wasn't about to do that, but I finally found a set at Walmart. And I know you don't play Overwatch, but tell me that the articulation on these like aren't incredible.
I said too, like they're mini statues with articulation.
It's
absolutely gorgeous. And the art, I love the art, the box art too. It reminds me very much of David Nakayama.
Yeah, Blizzard does some great looking stuff, but Hasbro just absolutely killed it with these. And I think I told you right before we started recording, like I've never been so tempted to open action figures before, because the articulation on them is incredible. Like we were watching the video, and like that Mercy, she pivoted on her hips. So like you can do so many poses that are relevant to the game. Like it's such a cool set, and I can't wait to see, what other ones they do.
Freaking amazing looking. I love when they do the blue metallic paints as well. I mean, everything now feels like it's miniaturized versions of reality.
Yeah.
Of what you see on the game itself can come to life and take it out. And, once again, whether you keep it in the package or out of the package, it's enjoyable both ways. The box arts, as I said too, is like, that's half to me, like half of the enjoyment of the purchase.
Yeah. And
that goes way back to me being a G.I. Joe fan as a kid. And I think it's not as much, I didn't think about them really being like war figures. I love the art that they put on the packaging. Yeah. I mean, they put like the explosion type of thing behind it, but it was all just even like pixelated, like red, yellow, and orange. And it's supposed to look like a battle scene, I guess. But to me, it was just like, that's just freaking artwork on the package. On each one, there's a file card. Yeah. And on the file card, have the front package art on the file card. So you can clip out that file card. And, if you don't have, enough space to keep all the complete packaging, and you had the piece of art with the figure all the time with it.
Yeah, presentation is incredibly important with things like this.
Yes, and as that too, Star Wars with the picture, the screenshots from the movies. They put on the Star Wars figures back when we were kids back in the 80s. It's like that every Star Wars action figure had a screenshot from the movie of that character.
Just like how they re-released the vintage card back ones. Yes,
yeah, the vintage collection's doing that exact same thing, and I think that's why that went over so well. If you look at the 3 3/4 inch Star Wars vintage collection figures, those are some of the few ones that are still going up in value.
And you know what? That's one of the harder ones, because we're trying to figure out what are we collecting. Action figures. We're sticking to the Black Series. The vintage series line was very hard to not get into, but we're constantly finding ourselves like, no, we don't collect this. Like, we're not getting this, But the only exception is things that we are being a completionist on. So I think I want to say there's a Dr. Aphra one, and I got that. It was I do have that one. And then there was a old Padme one that we came across on eBay, I think, or something. It was just too cool to pass up,
Yeah, as I said, they're reaching out to both generations. I mean, they get a new generation of collector today, and then all the people that purchase Star Wars kids and play with them as a kid all see that. It's like, oh, cool, dude, all those figures I missed as a kid, I can get them again. And there's more points of articulation now than ever before. So the kids that want to play with it are still going to open up and play with them.
And what's really fun is when those were originally coming out, you only had so many characters that were available to be made like that. Now we've had more characters introduced, and they're going back and doing it. Like they did a vintage card back Ahsoka figure. Nice. Ahsoka wasn't even out back then, but it's so neat to see that in that context, because that's something that can match, your old collection if you still had those, or if you started collecting them again, as an adult. So I think that all comes back around to playing to what you already have and having things that go well together.
Yes, that'll be the next step too. I'm surprised Hasbro hasn't started doing that yet. Making these new figures to fit in with the vintage 1970 Star Wars figures, where they only had 4 or 5 points of articulation.
Yes.
So, you know what I mean? So if you want to see that Ahsoka with 5 points of articulation, you can add that to your collection.
That's pretty funny. Hasbro they did a 6-inch version of that, didn't they?
Of Ahsoka?
They did the old versions of the sculpts, but they were bigger.
Yeah, Gentle Giant did 12-inch.
Is that what it was? Oh, yes. Gentle Giant did the 12-inch ones. But I remember at Walmart it was about a 6-inch looking Darth Vader.
That was perfectly the same type of articulation that they did the first time
around? I thought that's what it was. And the Vader came with a display for the rest of the ones, and maybe it didn't take off. I have to do more research because they went on clearance.
Yes, it's like that. Gosh, dude, I remember they did the Darth Vader that came with. Oh man, was it a 6-inch type of? It was when the Star Wars Black Series first came out. I remember them doing a Darth Vader that came with some form of a set. I want to say it was like an action figure case for them, but it may not have been an action figure case with them. Dioramas have been awesome lately too. Have you seen the dioramas that they're doing for the figures now too?
I don't think so. What do you mean for Star Wars?
Yeah, Star Wars Black dioramas. Like there is a scene where Luke Skywalker is more or less jumping out of the X-wing scene, or he's fighting with a lightsaber on Hoth.
Oh, yeah, of
like
course. Yeah, I know exactly what you want. Yeah, I have the Darth Vader one where he's entering in A New Hope and he's got the lightsaber and like you can put little batteries and it goes, they're incredibly cool because I mean, as good as the articulation is, there are certain poses you can achieve. So like they're really cool variants. I actually opened that one because I couldn't help myself because it was so cool. You had to open it
out of the package.
Yeah,
I mean, the box art looks awesome, but it's out of the package. You can do whatever type of lighting around the house.
I'm all about keeping everything in the box, but like I had to take that out of the box.
Yes,
I kept the box, of course.
I mean, exactly. But it's unbelievable to see. Like now, like they are totally appealing to every aspect of a toy collector you can think of now. Mm-hmm. Like I said too, is like another one of my employees. He's doing his own Instagram page with his nephews.
Oh yeah,
and it's called Padawan Nephews. Is the Instagram page, and it's awesome. He's taking pictures of the Star Wars Black Series figures out in the wild.
Fun, yes.
And, even on Free Comic Day, Jason's name of the photographer that works with us, and we did a museum type of display inside our front window.
Oh yeah, I saw that. That was awesome.
Yes, and those are just like unbelievable to see. He's doing all of his own lighting on it, and he's just taking whatever he can do image wise and turn them into his own stories just with photographs.
That's so cool. And I would love to do something like that, but like I don't want to open them.
No, I totally understand. It's like that. There's there's different variety types of collectors. Like for instance too, there's comic book collectors that never have read a story, but they still enjoy the medium of collecting comics, and they know there's the value behind it. And I said too is like that. It's not that there's any wrong way to collect.
Yeah, it's
just people do different things with different things.
That's one of the reasons why I was really surprised. Because Marvel, I don't know if Marvel or DC did it first, but they started doing like the digital copy with it.
Yes.
But I think you had to like scratch it off to get it. So to me as a collector, that ruins the book if you scratch it. So I think they're shooting themselves in the foot a little bit, because if you can do like maybe a code, like maybe just have the comic shop owner give you the code so it can't be redeemed.
Yes.
Like I think just ruining the book takes away being able to get that digital copy to read. But I think that's a genius concept to have a digital copy, so that way you don't have to even open it out of the bag and board, and you still have your mint copy. I don't know. I think there's something there.
Yeah, so on that is, I know they started doing it where it was like a peel away, but even on the peel away now, you're still damaging the comic. Yeah, or changing the comic. You know
what got me into collecting Pokemon cards again is every time you buy a Pokemon card pack, it comes with a code. I actually have them right here. Every time you buy a pack of Pokemon cards, you get a code, and it gives you a digital card pack.
Oh, that's
and you
cool.
can open it online, and you can actually play the game online with your friends or strangers. And I don't have to actually shuffle my actual cards. I can actually collect them, keep them in good condition. But I also get a digital copy, and I don't have to worry about ruining everything. And I can actually play the game without worrying about
Yes, they could possibly do like a shrink wrap version of the comic, and where the card comes in the center of the comic, and then when you open it, the little card comes out. And that there'd still be the people that say, "Oh, I don't even want to open the shrink wrap."
Yeah, see, that's what I would. That's the problem I would run into. So that's why I was maybe suggesting.
What if they put the code on the front of the shrink wrap, and you had to peel away the code?
Well, if they did something like a Mark Jeweler insert, there's a QR code you can scan in there.
That's true, like a QR code inside the book
that goes with the app, and
that would be the smartest thing to do. Just put the QR code printed on it, and if you scan it with whatever electronic device you have, that accesses
integrate
it.
that into like the Marvel app, the DC app,
But you'd
and
have
so
to
on.
log into your account. Then the thing too, people would say the fact of like, well, I can just go snap a picture of the QR code, and then the other person that buys it can't use it, type of thing on it too. So that's the big dilemma.
You see, like bad people just ruin it for everybody.
I know. It's like if everyone would just like treat the system like it's supposed to be treated. You know what I mean? They would make it much easier for collectors.
Maybe Marvel or somebody can figure it out. Because I think there is a lot of value to something like that.
That would be awesome.
Because I mean, like you collect, all these Spider-Man comics, and like I'm sure, especially with key issues like the black suit, like it would be so cool to be able to read them, and not touch it. Like when I first got first appearance of Deadpool, like I read it. It wasn't worth anything. Yes. But now I'm like, oh my gosh, like I don't even want to open this.
I remember as I got older, like as a kid, like I tried to keep things as nice as possible. When I first started reading, it was like I didn't care what kind of condition it was. I was just enjoying reading it.
Yeah.
Then I started realizing I had to pay more for some of those back issues. I said, oh, like why do I have to pay more for this? Well, first of all, the condition. And second of all, the value behind how hard it is to find. I'm saying, so these comics go up in value over time, you're telling me? It's like, yeah, be careful with them. So, that was first time I was told, like 9 years old, 10 years old, to be careful. So I had to start learning how to be more delicate.
Interesting.
And so I started, okay, if I hold it in the palm of my hand and flip it with my index finger, I'm never getting any damage on this book. You know what I mean? So I started teaching myself more ways rather than putting on the gloves and, take the tape off the bag before you take the comic out is like the number one rule that I still to this day need to be not, how would you say, like, oh, I know how to handle it. Do you know what I mean? Because still to this day, if you're not careful with the tape, it gets stuck to the comic cover.
I'm always I don't take the tape off, but I'm very careful.
Yes, I even start like folding the tape backwards and trying to get the flap on the bag to stick that way and pull it out.
Especially when I get back and forth, I don't always even add the tape.
Yes, that's true. Some people don't even put the tape on there at all because no risk factor whatsoever on that. But it's like they're if you enjoy something and you want to keep it nice, you have to pay more for it.
Yeah.
You start more or less being, I hate saying the word, but anal towards making sure you keep that as nice as possible. And to the point of when you're looking for the boxes, when you first see them, like you said earlier, it's like you didn't want the Overwatch box because it was damaged. Yep. And the figures inside there are still pristine mints, but the packaging has become so important now. As we said before, you want the most fine looking specimen of that product in your collection. Yep. And so that's what I've said too, is like that is the big dilemma, is like with those QR codes, how do you protect the integrity of the product and then still make sure that people aren't taking that digital code before the book's purchased?
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of Spider-Man, which we touched on a little bit, the Homecoming trailer, came out, I don't know, probably a little over a week ago now. But now that's the new after the credits scene for Endgame. I hear they added the trailer to the end of the movie now.
Nice, that is awesome. I said too, it looks pretty exciting. I said too, it's like seeing Spider-Man now struggle with the fact like he has to step into Iron Man's shoes, which was most intriguing to me. It's like,
how do you feel about that?
He's putting on too much responsibility on himself is what I kind of see on that little bit. I mean, Spider-Man has always been comfortable being Spider-Man. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And yes, this person that was his father figure, which kind of as what Tony Stark became in a weird way in those movies that he was in, because once again, his uncle died when he was so young, and Tony Stark became that new father figure for him. Yeah. And so not only did he lose his first father, he lost his uncle. Now he's lost his father figure in Tony Stark too, as well. And so as like a father-son type of thing, you see in his own mind, which makes perfect sense, he wants to carry on the mantle that his father figure is left behind. And being that world's best superhero is what he saw Tony Stark being. And the world still needs that. But at the same time, that's something that's just more or less in the movie storytelling. I think that works. Yeah. But as like a Spider-Man fan, do you know what I mean? He's always put the weight of the world on his shoulders. Sure. But he does not need to be Tony Stark. I'm saying you're going to see like that you're going to see the beauty of what it means to be Spider-Man.
Yeah, Marvel has really made this universe centered around, Iron Man. And these are probably going to be some of the first steps to get away with that. Exactly. Because I think Spider-Man's going to be more of the center of attention, maybe not to the same extent as Tony Stark has been in the last 22 movies or whatever. But maybe that's their way of kind of easing into it, is like, you know, I don't have to be Tony Stark. I can just be the best Spider-Man.
Yes, that's what I hope it's going with that, because that's what Marvel Universe has been centralized around Spider-Man for so many years. And now that movie cinematic universe can take that step with, you know, Spider-Man taking that baton from what they established with Iron Man, because it's almost like the first time around. And once again, going back to the whole thing we talked about before with the Timely, the Atlas, and the Marvel era.
Yes.
Well, Iron Man was the Captain America of the first generation of movies.
Yeah.
Like Captain America was the first superhero of the golden age for Timely and Marvel.
Yep.
And now Spider-Man has always been that focus of their universe in comics.
Yep. Now
Spider-Man can become that focus of the movies too, which is kind of a cool transition.
Yep.
That I said too, is like, I said too, like being such a Spider-Man friend for such a long period of time, I hope that he doesn't try taking on too many Tony Stark traits. Like you saw him put on the Tony Stark glasses. And the beauty of Spider-Man and Peter Parker is that he is Peter Parker. Yep. And he's flawed in a way. But at the same time, he is always never letting those flaws overcome him.
Well, now that, you know, spoiler alert, now that Iron Man, you know, is effectively dead, you know, at least for the foreseeable future, you know, I hope that we can give Peter Parker, you know, the credit where credit's due. Because, like, Iron Man kind of screwed up the credit where credit's due, I think, at least a couple of times in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. For example, creating Ultron.
Yes.
That was probably the most interesting thing that Ant-Man / Hank Pym has ever done. And you didn't even give it to him.
Yes.
You know?
To give it to Tony Stark.
I understand why they did that, and it makes sense. But that's literally the most interesting. Yeah. And, you know, he's not the only genius. You know, like, we're about to get Reed Richards too, hopefully.
Yes, that's true too. That's that too. It's you're going to see a bunch more. That's a good thing too that you just hit on right there too. Is Peter Parker is one of the geniuses of the Marvel Universe, and that's the thing too. Is where now, like Spider-Man, Peter Parker can step up and be that creative mind when Reed Richards shows up. As like that, hey, let's find ways together. I'll be like the brain. Same with Doctor Strange too. Doctor Strange is a very brilliant brain of the Marvel Universe.
Exactly.
Too. And this young kid that was like you were thinking might become the next generation Iron Man, that was from Iron Man 3. He's an inventor too as well. So this whole they could be setting up for future stories here, which would be great. The more or less the intelligent aspect of figuring out problems of the Marvel Universe.
And it's not just Tony Stark.
Yes, and not just Tony Stark. And Bruce Banner there too as well.
Oh yeah, there you go.
And so there's all these intelligent minds. Yeah, Professor X, they're going to be coming up on the scene when someone like Kane comes through. And he's seen the past. He's the future, the man of the time traveler. Yeah. And he can figure, you know, even more than Thanos figuring things out as a genius himself, you guess you could say in those last movies. Yeah. They need to outthink someone that knows it all. And that's going to be fun to see them as they develop these characters. The thought processes, like I said, too, they figured out time travel in Endgame. Yeah. What's going to be the big brain theory that all these brains that are brilliant in the Marvel Universe that Kane or whoever it may be down the line will take for granted against these superheroes.
Yep. And it was also evident that, perhaps this is a step toward Spider-Man being a central figure in the Marvel Cinematic Universe going forward, is just the fact that they're really introducing the concept of the multiverse.
Yes, Mysterio is supposed to be from the other multiverse. Supposedly.
And we'll see.
Yes, and could be an illusion. Mysterio is great at that.
I hope it's an illusion because, sure, like the multiverse is a great thing to introduce, and it opens up, a lot of doors, and it's something that, the Marvel Universe has in the comics. But to me, Mysterio was a very unique villain. Like, he's pretty lame, but what other villain is like a failed, visual effects artist, and like, this is all illusion. You kind of like, what's real, what's not. But like, if he's a real threat with like technology and stuff, like, we've seen that.
Yes.
So
what's gonna be different about him this time
exactly
around?
To me, that's boring. So like, it may, is it obvious that he's behind the elementals, and if that's what this whole thing's about,
Yes, that's the thing too. It's gonna be interesting to see like how they make a character that's, as you said too, never been much of a threat, because Spider-Man's spider sense can tell what's real and what's not real.
Yep.
And if you're an illusionist, you know, it's pretty easy to figure out what's what when you're Spider-Man. And this illusionist, is he going to be something different in this movie where he is playing with like supernatural abilities? Or is it just something that he's gotten so good at engineering what people want to see that it's going to be like the big reveal of like that, oh, this guy, you know, that Nick Fury discovered in the trailers is all just a hoax, but he's such a great producer of hoaxes that it just gets in your brain so much that you kind of, you know, Spider-Man has to deal with all the risk of what's happening here. Are these tidal waves? They have, maybe I said too, there's rumors Hydro Man's going to be in it. And these tidal waves that are happening.
I don't think it's rumors. I think it's confirmed.
Yeah, like he's making natural disasters.
Because isn't there a Funko and a Lego set?
So there's the Hydro Man inside of the Spider-Man Far From Home.
Hydro Man, Molten Man, and I think I don't know if they've said or not if that's Sandman or
that
not.
would make sense.
I mean, how could it not be? I mean, if it's just the elementals.
Yeah, if there's people that are more or less able to create natural disaster type of environments that Mysterio can help fix, they're all teaming together with Mysterio to create this illusion that these natural disasters are happening. And it's actually, as you said, the elementals working with Mysterio to make him more or less gain advantage.
Yeah. I hope
with S.H.I.E.L.D. or whatever.
I hope it's something like that, or I hope there's some kind of hoax involved. That I just hope that he's a fraud in some way, because that at least roughly references, you know, his true origins. Like I understand like some things are going to have to change, but I mean, Mysterio is a unique character, whether he's lame or not.
Yes, he makes us ask questions to ourselves, which is awesome. That's what you want all villains to do. Is like, okay, how's this villain gonna pull off defeating Spider-Man, and how are they gonna get creative with making this villain? You know, like for instance, Thanos. You know, Thanos won at the end of Infinity War, and you know, how are the superheroes they turn the tables on it? How are the superheroes going to defeat the villain for the first time?
Yep.
Because it's always been how the villain's going to defeat the superheroes, and now it's that they turned the tables on us, and especially even turning it more because Mysterio comes across as being an ally at first.
Yep.
So you're going to have an ally, as we all expect, heel turn in the same movie. And are we going to see Spider-Man be defeated, then come back, obviously, and win the battle at the end? Pretty much is what Spider-Man does.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it'll probably follow like some of those tropes and whatnot. But you brought up a good point with the way the black suit looks. You know, I can't remember now if they showed it or not in the trailer. But I mean, we saw it like in the toys and stuff. That it looks like Spider-Man Noir.
Yes, which is interesting too. They released a second trailer for Far From Home. They showed a screenshot of Spider-Man being in a black suit on the wall. I was going, oh, that'd be awesome. That looks, you know, that's the new symbiote. That's cool. But it reminded me so much of the Spider-Man Noir suit.
Absolutely.
And it'd be kind of cool. I was going like that. I don't think I need the white spider on the suit anymore to make it a symbiote.
Right. I
love the white spider on there.
Yes.
But it felt like a hybrid between the black suit Spider-Man and Spider-Man Noir. And
it feels very much like Spider-Man Noir.
Yes, the costume looks awesome. Regardless, if it is a symbiote, bonus. If it's not a symbiote, I see the whole thing of like the whole stealth episode type of thing too, because too many people are beginning to guess that he might be Spider-Man. He walks around without a mask half the movies. You know what I mean? And they show the scene where Mary Jane's walking with him on the bridge. She goes, I got something to tell you. It's just, oh, what, you can tell me you're Spider-Man? I'm going like, I already knew that.
Yeah,
it's like,
no,
what?
that's a great point.
Everybody knows he's Spider-Man.
Yeah. I mean, which, you know, there's some comic book, roots in there. But when you mention Black Suit Spider-Man, like you look, they already mentioned the multiverse, you know, in the trailer. And you almost wonder, like, are we gonna get more than one Spider-Man? You know, in this is he in the end gonna have to, you know, did Mysterio actually find something? You know, there's some truth to this multiverse thing, which, you know, I'm sure there is, and he brings in, you know, Spider-Man Noir from his, you know, dimension to help defeat Mysterio.
Well, the Spider-Man from that universe maybe is Spider-Man Noir, as you say. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and that's
exactly.
The Spider-Man from that dimension, whether he's noir or has a different costume. Maybe he is the Spider-Man with the symbiote, because right now in the symbiote Spider-Man miniseries, the main villain he's fighting is Mysterio.
Yep.
So you may be onto something right there too as well. I mean, they're just time piecing it. I figured because Mysterio's getting the movie coming up, and they don't have to mess with their regular continuity, even though Mysterio too is even part of the Nick Spencer run right now too as well. But
and the comics really they'll reflect what's going to happen in the movies for sure.
Yes, and so imagine if that is Peter Parker from that Mysterio dimension that does show up.
That's
and
very
he's still got the symbiote from that time frame when Mysterio
so
came through.
Okay, so like combining the noir costume and then also Marvel does combine a lot of things. Especially when you look back and the way they did Whiplash, it was the same. It was also Crimson Dynamo.
Yes.
They do combine a lot of things. So it would be interesting if they did do the Spider-Man noir thing. And like we've said before, implement that the black suit was implemented in this tactical suit, like a la Agent Venom,
yes, absolutely.
or something.
That would be awesome. I would be super stoked about that, because that makes, as I said too, you don't have to more or less establish having to tell a story with Tom Holland having to experience a symbiote. Because in this reality, and I guess it is separate realities. We did talk about that before, didn't we?
Yes,
that the Venom
that's a good
movie
point.
Is a separate reality than the one that Marvel Spider-Man's in right now, right? The Marvel Cinematic Universe and the Venom story are two separate stories.
Yeah, the one with I almost said Eddie Brock, the Tom Hardy movie.
Oh, Tom Hardy, Tom Hardy, yes. Thank
all
you.
the Toms,
yes, Tom H's,
and there's Tom Hiddleston, on top of all of this. Yeah, the Tom Hardy Venom movie. Has nothing to do with the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I don't know if that's unfortunate or not, but it does suck that we had a Venom story that was unrelated to Spider-Man. But I mean, we'll see what happens.
And so too is like just the fact of that there's that opening now for if it happened in another reality and Spider-Man experiences it. Is there a question for him to explore whether it exists in this reality? Because he may have seen like that. Because this. If it is like, for instance, Spider-Man that came over from Mysterio's universe and he's got the symbiote and Tom Holland's Spider-Man sees how cool that suit works with him and Nick Fury sees it, are they going to start seeking it out in this reality? Like, what was that?
Yeah.
And how do we get that under S.H.I.E.L.D.'s control? Do you know what I mean? And that's something where they can develop the story of scientifically developing it or finding it on other, planets type of things that they try doing in the other Venom movie, or, I said to the Agent Venom type of thing too. Does a little splice of it come off when he leaves a dimension and then hops on Peter Parker?
Like a Carnage kind of a thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's okay. What we got this, it's like crawling all over me. What do we do? Nick Fury says, hey, let's, get it off you and start investigating what it is. And that leads into your Agent Venom.
I wonder if they'll also maybe, because especially like the way, if it's like an Agent Venom kind of thing, if it's somebody like keeping the Venom symbiote, with this more tactical suit, like keeping it in line with the suit that they made. I wonder if they'll do something like I think it was the Ultimate Comics, wasn't it Eddie Brock's dad and Peter Parker's dad? Like they created the Venom symbiote.
Yeah,
but then you can also do, I don't know if they did this in the Ultimate Universe or not, do the plane crash that kills them and still have the Red Skull behind it, which I think is from the 616 universe. I don't know. And, maybe that's
they
why.
Can mix it together. Well, how cool would it be if that Spider-Man that came through, you see in the black suit's actually Flash Thompson from the other universe?
Interesting.
Do you know what I mean? So your whole Agent Venom's already there.
I would be okay with that because I personally find it annoying that Flash Thompson's Venom, because he was just this high school bully. Like why does every Spider-Man character have to be somebody? Like why? That was my as much as I love Spider-Gwen, but she's from an alternate universe, so to me that works. So if they did Flash Thompson from another universe as Agent Venom,
that's what I'm saying.
I'd rather see that.
Yes, it's that's the the Mysterio Spider-Man is actually Flash Thompson.
Interesting.
Like Agent Venom, rather than the fact of it's like Peter Parker Spider-Man. Like in the Spider-Gwen universe, Daredevil's actually Kingpin, Matt Murdock.
Oh, yeah.
And little things where, Wolverine was an assassin that Matt Murdock hired to try to come after Spider-Gwen. The Punisher's actually a police chief like Commissioner Gordon trying to find out what's going on with Spider-Gwen. So it's kind of fun with the multiverse if they do, as you said, use the multiverse for the Spider-Man movies, you can write your own multiverse stories of the Spider-Man.
Well, and Marvel might be looking at the success of Sony's Into the Spider-Verse movie and like, hey, like,
can we lead this into the regular
universe? Can we somehow use characters like do a Spider-Gwen movie, do a Miles Morales movie without actually killing Peter Parker and integrating into the regular universe? Like, you can do, as long as you can make the general audience accept the multiverse and understand that, hey, this Spider-Gwen movie is happening in this universe, and it's I think there's untapped potential.
Yeah, the rumors are I've heard soft rumors that people, hey, maybe this is the road to Secret Wars, and the modern version of Secret Wars, where it's like the multiverse is out there and it's being threatened.
Well, the Russo brothers said that that's what they want to direct, right?
So. Yeah, it's like the whole world of different realities on one world that they all have to survive with, and that's your whole new Marvel movie universe after this is all said and done.
I would like to see,
with all the different types of realities that they could bring in there to bring all the characters into their sandbox.
If they did Secret Wars, I would like to see that as like an event in this particular set of movies that was kind of like the same level as like Civil War. Like, it's a big crossover, but it's not the Thanos crossover. I think it would be disappointing as like the ultimate epitome, but like as like a Civil War kind of crossover. It's like Civil War was almost like an Avengers movie. Yes. Like, if it wasn't from Captain America's point of view, like, it just would have been, Avengers Civil War, I mean, essentially.
You could still have the slow movie build too, of introducing each character in its own
Absolutely,
movie.
yeah.
And then at the end, you have like a Spider-Man from another reality pull him into what's happening here. I mean, even if you want to do the whole Moreland Spider-Geddon thing, or if you do the Secret Wars type of thing at the end, where instead of it being Spider-Man, it's a Reed Richards, pulling him in. And then what's this Reed Richards? Well, the Fantastic Four movie's next. Mm-hmm. And then at the end of each movie, there's a different character. Professor X comes in and pulls the Fantastic Four. And, do you know what I mean? Spider-Man now that they pulled, or Spider-Gwen from that other type of reality. Then as it keeps on building, you find out at the end of the end of the plot is actually Doctor Doom, Molecule Man, and Doctor Strange being forced into the position of having to create this whole new world because all these other realities were just being disintegrated.
I wonder if they would ever do Molecule Man. Like, he is so freaking powerful.
Man, that's what I'm saying. And Molecule Man's world is like, he's been manipulated by Doctor Doom, and so is Doctor Strange.
So you're saying do it, so not have the Beyonder?
I think the Jonathan Hickman, more or less Secret War story is kind of something, if you make like Molecule Man be that Beyonder type of creator.
Well, the Grandmaster is already running around and he's already having these superhero battles.
Yes.
So I wonder if you can just combine Grandmaster and Beyonder and have Grandmaster behind
everything.
Secret War, because we already saw him like, oh, I got a Thor. I'm gonna have him fight my Hulk, but he can just discover Earth because whatever he had going. Exactly, and do like a bigger Secret War / or maybe he can have fun with the Beyonder. Maybe they can tag team this because last time we saw Grandmaster, he was in a bad situation and he got overthrown from his little palace. So maybe he discovers Earth, and maybe Beyonder's like, hey, you want to have some fun?
Let's compete. Yeah. And the Beyonder, like he meets the Beyonder, and the Beyonder's like curious, what is all this superhero Earthlings type of thing that have defeated so many things in the universe?
Because where did his Hulk and Thor came from? Like, I really like those guys. Let's see what else we have.
Yep. It almost becomes like a game of chess between Grandmaster and the Beyonder. That would be a fun way of exploring so much of the Marvel universe and then integrating everything together.
Yeah.
And as I said too, your X-Men, as I said too, is like that. Your X-Men, the Fantastic Four could easily be introduced that way through their own movies and then integrated into the Marvel Universe through, I said too, being plucked away by the Collector and the Grandmaster and then the Beyonder, or whoever you want to do it with.
Like the Marvel Cinematic Universe is at this place right now where it was like in the beginning again, because now that we've wrapped up like this really big story arc with Thanos, like it's been a long time since we were able to speculate this much about where things could go, and like who are we going to cast in these new X-Men roles or the Fantastic Four. It's so much fun because like we haven't really had that for a while, and that was like because especially before the Marvel Cinematic Universe, it was always fun to think about like who could play who and what kind of movies we can get, and like we're kind of back to that a little bit because like we have a new overarching story and like we don't know what it's going to be.
Yes. Do you think that the Dark Phoenix movie got delayed so they can start laying the groundwork.
I was wondering that
into the X-Men,
but
into the Marvel universe.
But since do you mind me saying what they said about the third act?
No, what they said about the third act, that's fine, dude.
All right, so I'm gonna just tag this as I'm gonna tag it as a spoiler, even though it doesn't really mean much. But from what I understand, originally the third act took place in space, which is cool because that's where the Dark Phoenix saga ends, is in space. Now they made it not in space.
Wow.
So I think what they're doing is they reshot it to wrap up the Fox movies.
Okay.
Because especially looking at the trailers, like it really is falling short. Because you look at the original Entertainment Weekly releases, she had all this fire and stuff, and I read they redid all the Phoenix Force effects to look more cosmic and less flamey, and that's apparent in the trailers. So I don't think this is going to lay the groundwork to integrate it. I think it's going to more lay the groundwork to end it.
Same with New Mutants too. I'm sure they're trying to.
That got delayed another year.
Yeah, which is interesting because that's the Fox movie too,
I think that
could be your introduction.
Be the introduction, because from what we saw in that original trailer, these are all characters we have not seen in any Fox X-Men movie. So if this went through extensive reshoots, this is a perfect way to introduce something a little different. And then let's just say at the end, they escape whatever this thing is, or this facility, and Professor X rolls up, and this new Professor X, the Marvel Cinematic Universe Professor X. And this is sort of like a prequel start to the X-Men movie. So like the X-Men already exist, but now we're bringing in some students.
Yes.
You know,
that would be awesome.
I think reshoots could integrate that into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and that's why it's a whole nother year
for them to do that. It's like I totally see Professor X and the original 5 X-Men.
I think, yeah, and New Mutants is a really interesting way of having that sort of Jubilee character introduction, which they kind of did with Rogue in that first X-Men movie.
Yes.
Which was similar to how they handled Jubilee in the 90s X-Men cartoon. It was like from Jubilee's perspective, it was Jubilee who got found, and she was the, for lack of a better term, relatable, character. Kid,
That would be awesome. Because I said too, it's got to be coming. And when they start introducing it, it's going to be full bore straight ahead at that point too.
And having the New Mutants with that kind of horror aspect, I think that will test the waters on whether or not they want to explore further horror subgenre superhero movies such as Ghost Rider and Blade, which I keep bringing up because I'm really excited. I really want it to happen.
Yes, that would be awesome. And I'm sure it's going to come. I said too, all the toys are back in the sandbox again. And I don't know how long it's going to be before Sony turns over complete control of Spider-Man, or it's just going to, hey, we're fine do whatever you want to do with Spider-Man as long as we get royalties out of it still.
I hope they just let Marvel keep creative control and let's just have it all, because it's such a shame they're doing this Morbius movie, because that would have been I would love to have seen a Blade and Spider-Man team up even briefly in a Spider-Man movie.
Yes, and that's what's kind of interesting is that. I wish they would start saying that. Hey, for instance, I was disappointed that the Venom cinematic movie has nothing to do with the Tom Holland universe. Yep. And as I said too, is that I think some of the Sony stuff may not do as well as long as they keep that attitude of the fact of this is separate. This is just owning the Spider-Man royalty rights. We're doing standalone movies of characters that are never going to integrate with what's going on with the rest of the Marvel universe. Yeah. And so by doing that, you're still kind of tying the hands a little bit of the things you're going to want to see with a Blade Ghost Rider type of thing on it, or Morbius type of thing.
And what's
showing up?
What's the point of this in the long run? You did Venom, you did Morbius, and where are you going to do a Sinister Six crossover eventually? Because I feel like that's what was already started with Homecoming.
Yes,
we had the Scorpion appear and Vulture, and then after the credit scene was, who, whatever he said, he was asking about Spider-Man, I think the Marvel Cinematic Universe is laying the groundwork for a big Sinister Six event.
Mysterio and Sandman were both Sinister Six members too. And I don't know if Hydroman's is going to be a person that gets completely defeated and out of the picture by the time the movie's over.
Yeah, please, I hope so.
And Lesson 2 is like that. It's okay, here are your elementals, which I don't know if there's 6 characters there, but another tease for Sinister Six. How many elemental characters are there supposed to be along this line here?
There's 4 elementals.
And then I guess you would say Mysterio's number 5, but is there a 6th type?
I think the elementals would be too much. I saw speculation that because they casted someone, everyone's saying, he's clearly Kraven, and I was he was clearly Kraven, but there are rumors that he's actually Chameleon.
Okay, that would be another Sinister Six member, because the original, but like they keep on teasing like Sinister Six this whole way through. Like once again, there's like a group of villains that are starting to form.
Yeah, and Sony had a false start with doing the Sinister Six in the Andrew Garfield movies, which that unfortunately never came around. But like they keep wanting to do it, but hopefully just let the Marvel Cinematic Universe handle it so we can get a proper Sinister Six movie, and then hopefully introduce Black Cat and have a proper Black Cat movie. Yeah, a movie. Yeah, I mean that would be great too. But just have her.
Yes, in the Marvel universe.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially with the Black Cat ongoing series is starting up next month.
Interesting.
So maybe you will see the Black Cat drop inside of the Spider-Man Far From Home movie.
They do things like that for the movies, so I would not be surprised.
That would be awesome if like you see the Black Cat like kind of helping Mysterio steal something that does the whole elementals release. Like some supernatural gem or something like that that's broken, has to get stolen to be getting to Mysterio.
Interesting.
And Black Cat is that more or less cat burglar thief that goes in to help out Mysterio.
You know what would be interesting is we have these repercussions of the snap.
Yes.
Half of the population got snapped. We know it was 5 years since the snap all the way up until the unsnap. Peter Parker's still in high school, even though it's been 5 years because he's not finished high school. But Ned was there too. Now, Black Cat was confirmed as a cameo, a background character in Spider-Man Homecoming. We saw the girl with the white hair.
Yes.
Now, if she was not snapped, she is now 5 years older.
Yes.
And she's a little, older / the same age, which is a little confusing. But now, let's say she was, 16. Now she's 20. Now she's had time to become a cat burglar.
Yes.
So like now it works that she was there and now you got to cast an older actress.
That would be awesome.
That's interesting now, right?
It. No, I said too, that would be awesome. Cause I said too, there's going to be people that are part of Homecoming. That is, as I said, half of them got snapped and half of them are still there.
Yep.
So you can have some of those people become, once again, allies and at the same time, villains.
Yep.
Because they made different choices during those 5 years of darkness inside of the world. How's the world going to rebuild? How are they going to survive? What are they going to do? And those are people that may have made some of those bad choices to become nemesis of Spider-Man that he all grew up with.
I was less excited for this Spider-Man movie before we started talking about it, but now that we've gone through and talked about all this potential, like I'm really excited just for some of this to maybe come true. Or
what is the exact release date? July. I think it's coming in July 7th or something like that.
Yeah, that sounds right.
2nd. Dana was close.
July 2nd. Okay.
July 2nd.
Yeah, no, it's going to be exciting for sure. 4th of July weekend, I'd imagine. On that note, I think it's about time to wrap it up here.
Yes, it's been an exciting show today. I love talking toys and where Spider-Man's going.
Spider-Man. All right, you gotta love Spider-Man, and the potential of a black suit, is always a good prospect. Thank you all for tuning in and listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will see you all next week.
Thanks for listening.